I'll just be a minute or so. I'm looking for something to talk about.
Okay. I thought I could break that.
Nope. There are, in fact, like the only breakable things in this game are gonna be like railings. So
Yeah.
here. All right. So we might real quick just go over some positioning stuff, though. We'll see.
I'm gold in all 3 roles, so
Okay.
it's yeah.
Yeah.
Open queue, like I said, I didn't take seriously. So.
Mm. All right, so a couple things. First off, just make sure that we're fully charging our shots. A lot of the time, I'm noticing a couple times where or more so like half the time here, where we're not fully charging, we're just kind of half charging our shots. And
Yep.
you want to fully charge them so that they do a max amount of damage, so that they're able to do one shots, and so that they're going to be most accurate. Whereas if you half charge it, it's going to go at a different projectile speed, which can be hard to hit. So I
Got
just
it.
recommend fully charging the majority of your shots, unless somebody's low and like right next to you is the only time you would not fully charge a shot. Besides that, make sure we're paying attention to Sigma's grasp here, as we do just feed him a ton of health.
Yeah, I noticed
Hmm.
that he was doing that, but I was already like half in Stormbow, so I don't know.
Yeah, you can just stop. You can just let go and stop shooting. There's no need to um fire off every single arrow in a storm arrows once you get it going. Right, you can pause and wait on it, or even let it run out, or we can just look away and try to shoot at someone else or whatever. Right, it's just big thing is just don't shoot at him, because in the case that you weren't aware of this yet because you are newer, Sigma does get a lot of health off of that when you
Yeah,
do. Yeah.
I know that. Like, yeah, it's
So there you just look at his health. We just give him like 800 HP off of that. Right, 712 there. So,
yeah.
all right, very nice. Okay, I have not seen us use Sonic yet. I would recommend using Sonic just pretty much off a cooldown every time you get it. You want it just out there doing things so that you have more information and whatnot. So I would just be firing off your Sonic arrow every time you get the
All right.
chance.
I missed a lot of shots there. I look pretty bad.
Yeah, and then a couple, like, every other shot looks like it's half charged, right? Which is gonna be a very big dampener on the amount of damage you're actually able to do.
All right. I think. Yeah. I thought that there was still people in there, so.
Yep. Yeah, we ended up getting one there out of it, so it's all good. All right, so we're gonna end up going over 2 things here. So, hopefully you don't get a game before we go over these. But in any case, we're gonna go over just general positioning with them all, and then we're gonna go over something else afterwards as well. So first off, let's just go over general positioning. Just as we noticed, I noticed, especially like at the very beginning of the round, we did this. So basically, if we are standing right here, right, and the enemy team's standing over there, and they're all looking at us and shooting at us, it takes us, right, 1, 2, 3 seconds to get behind cover. Now, in that time, they shot us and then they killed us because we took too long to get behind cover. Whereas right here,
I got a game.
okay, yep. So we'll just continue on real quick until you
Yep.
start it up, right? But if we're standing right here, well, now it only takes us half a second to duck behind cover, right? Which is going to be 6 times faster than that previous cover, right? So basically, what that means is good positioning is the usage of cover, whereas bad positioning is the absence of cover when we're standing out in the open. And
Okay.
we've had a couple times where we were kind of standing out in the open, and then that caused us to almost die, right? Definitely could have caused us to die. So we just want to be careful of that. There's a lot of different types of cover, right? So slopes, pillar, corner, random objects, the payload, right? So that's it for now. We'll go over some more things in a bit. So I'm going to spectate you now.
All right.
Now entering King's Row.
I will strike our enemies where they do not expect. Hello.
All systems operational. Diva, ready for combat.
Sorry if my keyboard is a little bit loud.
All good. I can barely hear it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attack commencing. Capture objective A.
I'm under attack.
See that which is unseen.
Uh-oh, I'm missing a lot of shots here. I'm choking! Oh, shit.
Do you know what your sensitivity is in game and like what your DPI is as well?
Yeah, 400 DPI, let me check. 16.77.
Okay, so okay, so let's I need to go over that real quick. Okay, so that's not too terribly high of a DPI. I'd probably say our aim looks very shaky to where we just want to make sure we're keeping it smooth, as when we're being really shaky with it can be hard to see what's going on and harder to hit shots as well. So just try to make sure we're keeping our aim smooth. It doesn't seem as though your sensitivity is too high or anything like that, but definitely just the shakiness of it.
Oh,
My will made real. Surrender to my will.
what is killing me? Oh, there's Junkrat. Oh,
Unfortunate. Okay, I'm acquiring a few things, so we'll talk about after the game is done, like things that'll take longer to talk about, but other than
Alright.
that, we'll just keep playing, see what we're going to talk about here.
Nanoboost administered.
I am unstoppable.
Okay. Usually I'd recommend first off being closer, this way they don't have as much time to run away from it. I'd also use your sonic arrow so you can actually see where people are like through walls, right, if you're trying to fire it through walls.
oh my god, what is happening? I'm choking so hard right now. I'm missing all my shots. Oh.
Alright. So if you feel like you're playing extra poorly or you just feel a little bit stressed because I'm watching, we can always move over to like doing a replay review instead if that would be better. Just since that would take pressure off you and whatnot. But it's up to you. We'll
I don't
see
know,
after this game.
I don't know what's going on here.
The wolf marks
Rocket
his
barrage
prey.
incoming.
Need healing.
Nerf this.
Oh my god, I am choking. Oh my god! I swear I'm not this bad. This guy. Oh my god, I might switch off after this. I cannot play Hanzo.
So there, we died. Probably say we were too far out in the open. So make sure we're watching our positioning and we're trying not to stand out in the open, which can keep us alive a lot longer if we have cover to use. And then also on top of that, I'd be requesting healing. That way you can give your supports an in-game audio cue, and they'd be able to hear you and be able to heal you much easier, right, if they know where you are. So I'd probably recommend just pressing that. It's a good habit to get into.
Alright.
Need healing.
Okay. That was kind of a blind dragon. You want to make sure that like you're actually, you want to know who you're dragoning and whatnot. So throw out the sonic arrow. That way you can see them through the wall and actually know who you are dragoning. And then on top of that, you can also just peek to see where people are as well. You just don't want it to be blind. That way you actually are able to aim it, right? You wouldn't want it to go for just random blind shots all the time.
Everyone heal up.
Hold on, does Zenyatta here go through cement sim wall?
Zenyatta's Transcendence, or
Yeah.
no, it does not. It gets cut off by shields.
Oh.
Get over here and heal up.
We must focus our attack upon the objective. Coming at you.
All right, so
Oh, I just went from no metal DPS to gold.
yeah, we'll definitely have a couple things to talk about after we're done here.
Alright.
I need healing.
Thanks.
No.
Healing with the payload.
Oh my god.
Is that the best you can do?
Enemy
I'm back in the fight. Let's off.
Uh-oh. Turning over a health pack.
Very nice.
Oh, I should have just asked for healing. I'm gonna try to take high ground here. I gotta kill this Lucio. Oh, I should just wait. I should just wait. Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, when I play, I like talk a little bit to myself so I can.
All good.
I'm on fire.
The payload has reached the checker.
Oh my god, my aim!
Adaptive circuits engaged.
Anyone needs some healing?
Lucio.
I'm trying to get high ground. No!
In that situation, maybe if you're trying to get high ground, you can use that to take the high ground, right? The single flux
yeah.
up. Besides that, there's and besides the top left, there's actually not a high ground that you're able to take as soldier. So that's an idea to be maybe get up there.
Oh, okay.
Get through this.
Oh, this Sigma should just do this. Oh. Oh no, he's sleeping. Oh my god, I don't even know the map. Jesus.
Yep, all good. That'll come with time. You know, just getting used to it.
Everyone, heal up.
All right, so yep, I have just a ton of things we'll talk about after we're done here. It's just gonna take too long and be just too distracting if I went over them while we're playing here.
Yep. Understand. I just wait for my team. Remember right to respawn.
Reality bends to my will.
Oh no, that was an accident.
Defense matrix activated.
60 seconds remaining.
Kill this diva, I can ult.
I've got you in my sights. I love the smell of pulse munitions in the morning. Need healing. I need healing.
Oh,
Oh.
so there, unfortunate, we did have health pack. We can use cover there, and then also we just kind of stand still and let them shoot us. So just a couple of things that maybe we could have kept us alive and helped us kill the Bastion faster, right? Just
Yep.
cover, health pack, making sure we're not standing still, right? Usually it's not a good idea to stand still for super long in this game, just because it's gonna be very easy for people to melt you like that. Good TPs.
10 seconds.
Experience tranquility.
Yahi param vasta viktahe.
Unfortunate,
Oh.
right? Watch for the watch for the edge. Just be aware of it.
Yeah, I might switch.
All right.
Am I going hit scan? No. Oh, they have a Bastion. I'm gonna
I will
go.
protect.
Okay.
Dust.
So I'm going to stream if you'd like to take a look again.
Yep.
All right, so we have a bunch of things. So first off, let's talk about like one of the ones that I think is a little bit unique to you, from what I've seen. Though it is looking like it is decently important to go over. So first off, this is all within kind of the same category here of like 3 different things. So this is flicking, micro flicking, and also kind of like just jittery aim in general. So far when we walk around, right, like for example, like a normal person, or not, normal being a mean word, but to say, somebody might, and the average person might walk around and just go around and aim like this, right? Just aim and shoot people. Whereas when I was watching your gameplay, it looks more like this, where we are going like this while we're aiming at people, right? Where we are just like shaking our our crosshair very, very hard while we're aiming, and then it's just like kind of really jittery. So let's talk on that for a little bit. So let's first talk about like flicking and micro flicking. Flicking is going to be anytime your crosshair has to travel a long distance very, very fast, right? Like, this would be flicking right here over to him.
Yep.
Micro flicking is when we do this, but on a tiny level, where we like want to flick up to their head, for example, right? This might be micro flicking if you're flicking very tiny distance. And then jitter aiming is just basically having a very shaky aim style, right? So let's talk about what we might want to do to fix some of these and why they're in issues. So first off, flicking. Let's talk about flicking and micro flicking. So flicking and micro flicking have their specific moments in which they are needed, but they're not needed all the time, right? So times where it might be necessary to flick, right, where we need to travel a distance very, very fast, is like when we have a fast-moving target, such as a Tracer who's blinking around us, right? If Tracer blinks behind us, right, well, now we have to flick around very, very fast to be able to shoot at her, right?
Mhm.
Whereas if he just tried to track, that's not going to work out too well. So
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. How do you counter a Tracer as soldier? That's always been
Yeah.
a really, really, really like thing for me.
Well, just hitting your shots, but then also the big one is the Helix, right? With Helix, we can, if we direct her, we can right-click melee and just one-shot a Tracer. Or even if you just hit it, it acts as a big burst. So I would try to catch her off guard with a Helix rocket, wait until she blinks, and then Helix at her, that sort of thing. And then you also just have regular shooting her down, right?
Yep.
That also works. So in any case, right, flicking against a fast-moving target is necessary. Flicking when somebody sneaks up behind you might be necessary, so we have to flick around really fast. Or when somebody just appears on our screen, so like let's say we're aiming here and then all of a sudden somebody pops up on the top right. So now we have to flick up to aim at them, right? So those are all
Yep.
instances in which flicking would be necessary. But when flicking is not necessary is when we're already aiming straight at somebody, right? When we're already aiming straight at this person, what does flicking do? Well, flicking just means that we're adjusting off of the person to readjust onto the person. Like, why would we want to go to the person, off the person, to the person, off the person, even if it's on a micro level? Like, that's why jitter aiming was really bad, is because we keep doing this where we're like, we're going around the head and then on the head and around the head, right? Whereas we could keep it smooth and then be on the head the whole time, right? So flicking
Yeah,
isn't necessary.
honestly, it's I've
Yeah.
always had like a shaky aim, so I needed like I've been playing in my FPS background on like super low sense, like
Yeah.
literally like it's been difficult for me to adjust to higher sense and still need to be able to track and aim.
Yeah. So you can end up like just lowering it even further. I probably like right now yours I would say is like probably double your EDPI. Is I think like double mine basically. It was like mine is like 3,600 for your DPI and your sensitivity combined, whereas yours was like 6,000 something. Like 6,800 something like that. So
Pretty high.
yeah, so I wouldn't say it's like too terribly high. It's not like a super high sensitivity. I've known people with much higher than that, where it was like I've had people who come in at like 10 times higher than mine. So it's not like super terrible, though. I might recommend lowering it even more, which can give you more accuracy, can stop the jitter aiming, and would just overall give you more control. So that might be a suggestion. But on top of that, just make sure you're actively thinking about it while you play, because we just end up shaking a lot, and then on top
Oh
of
yeah,
that being inaccurate. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that my soldier sense is actually 10.0 and then 400 DPI.
Okay, so you actually lowered on Soldier?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
lower.
Yeah, so I actually noticed that a little bit, because I probably say it looked, on Hanzo, it looked like you were going for more flicks and micro flicks, whereas in Soldier it just looked plain out jittery. Like it just looked jittery in general. So I would say, yeah, I did like that was noticeable. Like in just how the aim style, how it changed the aim styles, though.
Because
Mhm.
yeah, sorry for buddy,
Yeah.
but I play on like my Genji sense is like I think it's like 25.0 and then 400.
Okay. One thing that you might want to do now. This is definitely like one of the things that is definitely preference based, because sensitivity always is. But you might not want to have it so spread out between a bunch of different characters, as that can get you just like not used to specific sensitivities. Now, if you're doing just for specific characters, that's fine. I've always been a fan of just keeping the same exact sensitivity for every single character, whether or not I'm playing Genji or playing like a hit scan character. I'll keep it the same sensitivity, and it's worked out fine enough for me. But like if you spread it from 10 to 16 to 20, well, now you're working with a very wide array of sensitivities, where on Soldier you're going to be, versus Genji, you're working with literally double the amount of double your sensitivity, right? Which is pretty crazy, right? It means that you're working with a vastly different sensitivity, which can make getting used to mechanics pretty hard, harder probably than necessary. So in general, I might just like my recommendation, it's really up to you, just because sensitivity is preference based, is just maybe lowering your sensitivity, but like I said, also paying attention to how you're aiming and making sure we're trying to keep our aim smooth instead of just flicking and going all over the place with our aim, which not only should help with our aim, but then also on top of that help with awareness too, because it gets really hard to tell what the heck is going on when your screen looks like this all the time, right? It's just like it makes it difficult to see what's happening. So that's another thing I can help with. All right, is that all kind of makes sense in
Yep,
in
it
those areas?
does.
All right,
Uh,
so we can move on then. Do you have something you're gonna say?
no, I was saying that I agree that like
Hmm?
that my sense needed to be changed, because like I also did coaching, like I didn't do coaching, but like I also like purchased coaching like
Yeah.
for Valorant, and like back in a while ago, and I had really high sense before, and I couldn't fix my jittering problem,
Yeah.
so I just turned it really low, and it just worked.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely that should help out definitely if you lower it down further. So yeah, moving on then to other topics, because we do have a bunch of other stuff to get to. So let's talk on cross replacement real quick. So is this a term you're familiar with? I imagine it
Yep.
might be.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep, yep.
So let's just go over a quick reminder over what it is, and just making sure we're doing this. So the same exact cross replacement that you learned in like Valorant and CS:GO does apply still in Overwatch. So the first big thing I would say is make sure that you're aiming at head level, as a lot of times we're walking around aiming at a body level, and then this means that you have to adjust further to hit headshots, which will be doing a lot more damage than hitting body shots will. You're gonna be killing people roughly like 2 times faster for hitting headshots, which is gonna be much better. So we want to make sure we're aiming at head level, just so this becomes a lot easier, right? So that like our default shots, like if we're shooting on a choke, shooting into shields, into tanks, just becomes naturally headshots if we're just aiming there, right? On top of that, just just the aiming where we know people are going to be is another part of cross replacement. Top right, we're pre-aiming top right, and then we also want to keep in mind that because characters are not all at the same height in game, right? Like these guys are on a slope, so the same way we look down on a torb and we look up on a tank, we're gonna adjust our cross replacement placement a little bit according to the situation. So we just want to pay attention to crosshair placement, make sure we're keeping it up. On Hanzo in particular, keep in mind that at ranges he does have a slight drop. So when we are right here, we just aim straight at the head and we're good. But when we're right here and we aim straight at the head, it's actually going to hit their body because it goes slightly downwards at a distance. So
Yep.
make sure we're aiming slightly above their head, and then that will hit a headshot. So just keep in mind that as you're going through your gameplay. Moving on to other topics, let's talk on target priority real quick, and then and then after that we'll talk on off angling. So target priority, what should you be shooting at and prioritizing? Well, mainly the big main point it comes down to is don't shoot at tanks. Tanks are not what you want to be shooting at. Tanks have 2 to 3 times the health of other characters. They, on top of that, have shields and armor, and they have tanking abilities, and they're very, very difficult to kill, right? And then also on top of all that, even though tanks are a very important role and they can carry in the game, their job is to create space for the other roles, whereas DPS output damage and supports output healing, which means that they're the characters who output statistical value, and they're the ones you want to take out, right? So,
All right.
you know, that's not to say that we never shoot at tanks, right? We shoot at tanks when they're out of position, when they're low
they're low.
HP, yeah, or they're the only thing we can shoot at, right? Those are situations where we shoot at tanks, but
I
other
have a
than that,
question.
yeah, go ahead.
That that diva that I followed in tunnel, was I supposed to do that or no?
That's fine because she's out of position in that situation. So that's definitely a fine situation to go for it because she is not going to get healing and she's not. She's very far out of position, so you might want to punish her for that. So that you focusing her when she went down tunnel was pretty fine, but it was
Alright.
more so in a lot of other fights. We just start out the fights by looking at the tanks, right? So we want to be looking at other things, and the next step here that we're going to talk about is off angling, and this is how we do that effect, how we put into practice, right? So this off angling is basically just taking different angles. So if the enemy team is standing there and our team is standing here, and this is the main angle, right? To shoot at their backline, we're shooting through tanks and shields, and that's all we're shooting at, right? Which is what most of our gameplay was, where we were just kind of sitting here and just shooting on this, and then we were stuck shooting at the wrong things. Whereas if we, for example, came off into this room, well, now we just got around the tanks, around the shields, and then now we can get straight to the backline very, very fast and easily, right? It's fast and it's safe and get back to our team if we need to, right? That's an off angle, right? Same thing, enemy team, our team, main angle. We just take a couple seconds to run around up here to the high ground real quick, and now we've just gotten around the tanks, around the shields, straight to the backline, right? So high grounds all act as natural off angles as long as we are above them and not like really far away from them, right? One thing I would warn you of though is keep in mind there's a difference between off angles and flanking. So a flank would be if this is the main angle and we went all the way around. Now this is taking us 2 times as long, which can put us out of the fight and let our team be losing it while we're gone. And it's also much more dangerous than the one before. So Soldier actually can do flanks pretty effectively because he has his health pack and his sprint, which give him extra survivability. But I would never go for a flank on like a character like Hanzo, for example, just because he doesn't have that survivability or mobility that Soldier does. But you definitely want to be off-angling on Hanzo, right?
Yep.
So then besides that, just some extra positioning things, make sure we're taking high grounds, right? High grounds all act as natural cover, right? They see us, now they can't, right? We crouch, now they can't. On top of that, most characters in the game can't reach us up here unless they use abilities or stairs, right? Which just gives us extra survivability. Then we also have a ton of visibility. We can see over here, over there, over here, and over there, right? Whereas if we're on a low ground, we can't see over there, or any of the high grounds, right? So a lot of good benefits from high ground as well. Now, Helix rocket, let's talk on that for a moment. I did notice that we missed a lot of our Helix rockets, so first off, just make sure we're putting a lot of effort into actually making sure we're actually landing them. But besides that, just a quick, tech, I guess you would describe it as, is of just how we can look to hit them more often, is make sure we're aiming at people's feet when we're aiming them. Now, you still want to be hitting them directly because that's where it does the most damage, but if we are aiming up here and we miss, it's just sailing past them, right? It just goes all the way off into nothingness, whereas if we aim at their feet and then we miss, now we're getting splash. Yeah, well, you'll get the splash damage, right? So like if we miss here into the ground, we still get the splash damage, which does a little bit of HP, right? So
Yep.
aim at you want to aim at head level. Then when you go for Helix, you want to look down real quick and aim at the feet, right? So that would be that would be an example of a micro flick, which would be a situation where a micro flick would be needed because you need to flick from the head down to the bottom and then back up to the head, right? Up, down, up. So let's see. Besides that, I think that is pretty much it. You can go ahead and hop into another queue, and then while you're in queue, we'll just real quick go over strengths and weaknesses of what we're looking at so far.
All right.
And then maybe I'll remember other things that we were going to talk about as they come up here. But real quick, right? Ability usage. I'd probably say ability usage so far has seemed okay. It definitely does need some work. Like I think especially like Helix and Storm Arrow, or sorry, and Sonic Arrow were they're being largely misused on the two characters. So just make sure we're putting an effort into those two. Besides that, overall though, it's not looking too terrible. So I probably say it goes to a low to medium priority for you to work on it. Your ultimate usage, probably I think your visors were actually really good, and I liked the timing with them. I probably say the dragons did need work though. With dragons, I liked the idea that of using it behind walls. That's a really good idea. As when you use it behind a wall, this stops people from being able to shoot at you, and it makes them not sure where to go, right? But before I go for them, I would just Sonic real quick. That way we can see them through the wall. When you throw it, try to place it behind them, as a lot of times people will try to run away backwards. And then besides that, that's pretty much it, right? Just make sure we actually are not doing it blind, whereas like both of the dragons I saw you use, we just kind of fired it in. And then also the other one was just make sure we're not using it from super far away, because it gives them a lot of time to react and get away from it, right? Sorry, more so, don't use it from a medium distance. We can actually do it from really, really far away, because that can confuse them and like they won't know where it's coming from. Like if we did it from all the way back here, right, or we did it from spawn, they might not know where the heck it's coming from. But if we do it from medium distance, usually that'll give them the kind of the is the worst, because it gives them time to react to it, right? So either close or far. Now moving, so overall, I'll probably say that again goes to like a low to medium priority. Not on Soldier, not a problem at all. On Hanzo, yes, it is a low to medium, right? So, moving on, mechanics. This definitely has had a lot of things from crosshair placement to target priority to just jitter aiming. So I'll probably say mechanics in general goes probably to a medium high for the moment, medium high priority. Then moving on, positioning we've talked a little bit about with off angling and making sure we're using cover and high grounds, right? And overall, probably say that goes to like a medium for the moment. And then finally, we have your awareness. Awareness is just paying attention to what's going on around you. And also just remember to let me know when you get in the game. Let's see, awareness. Okay, sounds good. I'll finish this up real quick then. Awareness, paying attention to your health bar and requesting healing when needed. Making sure we're just paying attention to the general game around us, paying attention to where's the enemy team at, where's our team at. We honestly haven't talked a lot about awareness, though that usually is one of the slower ones to diagnose, so we'll adjust those as we go. But for now, awareness will just go to a low to medium, though we might adjust it. Up or down, we'll see. So that's where everything stands for the moment, and like I said, we'll adjust them as we continue on.
Got it.
Traveling to arrival. Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
Empty your mind. Focus on the task at hand.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Stop the payload.
Well, yeah, it's when you don't. It's basically when you stop looking straight, then it'll cancel. Is how that works.
Uh oh. I'm getting out of here. That was a really bad mistake.
Use dash as a finisher, not an engager. In most cases, you want to use it to finish off the kill. And then also just try not to go straight into the backline, right? Where you're just going to be stuck there. So instead, try to poke out Mercy and then dash in to finish her off rather than just dashing in immediately, right? Because then if he doesn't die, you're just stuck in their backline with no way to get out.
Oh my god.
Oh, that was the other thing we were going to talk about. I totally forgot. All right. I just recalled one thing that we missed. Okay. Audio awareness, make sure we're keeping our ears open as there was a Hanzo behind us shooting at us for a long while there. So just make sure we're paying attention to what's going on around us, and therefore we will be able to kill him a little bit easier.
Oh my god, I suck. Anna does have nano. Yeah, honestly, out of all the heroes that I play, I think Genji needs the most work out of me.
Okay. Nice. There, maybe we could have dashed slightly faster if we're paying attention to his health. So just, you know,
Yeah,
paying attention.
I saw that he was using take a breather, so.
Okay.
I require healing.
This Hanzo likes to flank.
Alright, so we've had multiple instances where we just haven't noticed people behind us, so let's talk on audio awareness real quick. First off, I'd recommend turning down music volume if you do have it max still. Secondly, turn up your normal volume if you feel like you have it too low. Thirdly, do you have surround sound on your headset? Like, do you have any?
I do have the option, but I don't have it on right now. Should I do that?
Yeah, surround sound is going to basically allow you to know, like, basically what it is it's sound that surrounds you, right? So you're going to be able to tell from what direction sound is coming from better, right? It's really how surround sound works. So you'll be able to tell the difference between something in front of you and something behind you. So that's how you'll be able to tell people behind you.
Oh, my audio just changed, like, really.
Yep.
I turn it on. Sounds like I'm playing on the speaker.
Yep. And then finally, just in the category of awareness, just make sure we're also just paying attention to our surroundings, right? Listening for footsteps, gunshots.
No, there's more, yeah.
Yep, make sure we're paying attention to our health. If we don't see any supports around us, then we might, because they're both dead, we might need to go and grab health packs, right?
Where does it hurt?
Thanks. I require healing.
Seconds remaining.
Our enemy returns. Healing. I require healing.
So you want to make sure that we're not holding on to Blade right there in that fight. We maybe could have used it. And we hold on to
I
it.
just didn't have full health.
When Ana nanos you receive health. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yep.
So it'll heal you up to full HP when you get nanoed.
10 seconds
From afar.
When do I have dash? No.
Alright, let's talk on a couple things then. Alright, so let me just... Let's see. You can probably queue up for a game while we talk still.
Alright.
though hopefully we'll be able to get through everything. So I'm streaming real quick. So let's talk through some stuff. So first off, I'd say we weren't like super low in health, so we like that whole time like we, and then with the work times where we also full HP. So make sure we're just going in right. Even if you're down like 20 to 60 HP, you can still go for your ultimate. Nano I believe will heal you up 250 HP. So that means that we'll be full HP if we just get the nano boost. If we know that we're going to go for a nano blade that fight, I might press the like the ultimate button.
Yeah,
Like
and then to Anna.
that way, so Anna knows, right? So that you're going for your ultimate. Just press that a couple times, or I need healing can also be a good way to do it as well. That way she just knows that you're going for it. Besides that, just make sure you're actually using your ultimate, because ults that are used first generally get more value than ults that are used second. And then if you hold on to it, you might just never get a chance to use it, right? Besides that, when we did blade, make sure that we're not panicking, as we got like super extra jittery once we went for ultimate, right? It was pretty funny actually. We kind of went decently smooth into just going like ultra instinct, right, jitter when we went for ultimate. But besides that, make sure that we're not just dashing like after we get the kill. Like what ended up happening was we double slashed Mercy and then we dashed after we killed her into nothing. So
I thought that I thought that it like I thought that it killed her. So I thought that I didn't kill her yet. So
yeah. So it's just knowing the damage numbers in that case, right? Like 2 slashes will kill somebody. If you do not have a damage boost, right, it's going to take 2 slashes no matter what. Dash does not have an impact, right? You're going to need two slashes to kill somebody. Whereas if you do have a damage boost, then it's going to be a slash dash, right? So in that instance, we just ended up dashing into nothing, so we just want to watch out for that. Now let's talk on ranges real quick on different characters. So we've gone over Soldier, Genji, Hanzo. So let's talk on the ranges. I'd probably say in general, we're not understanding some of the ranges on our characters, and this is something I forgot to go over before. Genji, in general, is a very close-range character, as he prefers his right-click over his left-click, because right-click does output at a faster rate. So noticing we're left-clicking a lot, and we're just standing very far away from people a lot.
I use left click to shield break, if that's...
Shield break, like we discussed, isn't something you want to be focusing on too much, because, we don't want to focus on tanks too often, right? We instead want to be focusing on other things, right? So you definitely can use left click to shield break, but it's not even going to be very effective. And on top of that, that gets into like shields oftentimes are very massive, and you can just right click and kill them very easily, just because it's a faster output of damage, right? So right click you want to use against shields a lot of times anyways, unless you're like super far away. But range, you want to be within dash range most of the time, which is going to be like 15 meters, or sorry, like 17 meters-ish, something like this, right? So if you're further than this, you're probably not in a good place because you're too far away to finish off a kill with a dash. You're not going to be able to right-click effectively from that range. And overall, Genji just doesn't do very good at far ranges, so try to stick within 20 meters, right? So dash range is like 17 meters, so I'd probably say stick within like this range-ish to people, right, and try to stay that close, preferably even though up here, so we can actually get off effective right clicks.
I got a game.
Okay. Soldier and Hanzo are different. You want to make sure you're not standing too far away from people, as you, first off, it's going to be very inaccurate to hit people at a far distance as they become much smaller, but on top of that, you also have on Soldier fall-off damage, where you're doing less damage the further away you are. So on Soldier and Hanzo, you also don't want to be too close to people. Sometimes you just kind of run into people, so there's other characters in the game that have better close ranges, so make sure you're keeping a medium distance on both Soldier and Hanzo. So I would probably say 15 meters to like 35 meters is the range in which you want to be playing on both those characters, is within that, and that's your preferred range. You can go closer and you can go further, but you prefer a 15 to 35 meters range, and oftentimes you would end up being too far away or too close, right? So make sure we're keeping those distances on those characters.
Got it.
Okay, I'm spectating you now.
All right.
Now arriving at Yijiang Tower.
They're running Winston.
Alright, so here we might want to, close the distance a little bit, right? Just like
Yeah.
make sure we're trying to go in and do something at the moment. Alright, so there even though...
Should I switch off?
You can. What other character would you be trying to go to?
Tracer?
Yeah, Tracer would be decent here. I mean, I think either or works. Just keeping in mind, then we died there. We had taken a whole. We were like standing very far out in the open.
Understood.
Yeah.
Here, we're trying to take an off angle, so maybe we can go like to the right of our team here, right? Like just go. Oh.
Oh. Yeah, the Reaper.
So there we
Yes.
do have blink and we do have recall. Also want to make sure we're just not standing in front of our team on the main angle. There we were taking the main angle, whereas we might want to like blink to the right side and then therefore get behind them, right?
All right.
Or here we can come left side, right? So our team's on their right. We're just trying to come from a different angle from our team.
Huh?
Watch your spam jumping. It's not a super big, massive thing, but it is a tiny thing of it's going to be easier to kill you when you're just holding down the jump button, easier to headshot you because it makes you predictable.
All right.
So it's that's not a very high priority, though it is a thing. Oh, there potentially we could have meleeed the Echo and then she would have died. So just remember you can use melee to finish if you don't have ammo.
Yep.
And then
I think that I have a really big issue with my pulse bomb. I really can't use it to my advantage.
okay, so we'll go over that. Like let me just see how you're using it, and then we can go from there.
Okay.
We're very much misusing our blinks and recall. We end up dying a lot when we have them, so we want to make sure we're like actually blinking around the dodge damage. So when people are shooting at us, make sure we're blinking, right? Or make sure we're recalling. Make sure we're actually using our abilities, and then we'll also have big bursts. So we'll use them like all at once, where we'll go blink, 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 recall, right? And then now we're out of everything, right? So just make sure we're trying to, pace them out a bit more and actually use them to dodge out damage, whereas we kind of just run at them 3 times in a row and died.
All right.
All right, yep. But I definitely see what's wrong with it, so we'll go over it after this game.
Engage. Tracer. Personality.
I need healing.
Yep, so with abilities, just make sure we're trying to pace them out. We're not using them all at once, and then we're also trying to make sure we're actually using them and not just kind of standing still letting them shoot us for free, right?
Yep.
Yeah. There we were aiming down a little bit again, so just keep in mind crosshair placement, though that's definitely, of course, going to be something that needs to be practiced at, right?
Yep.
Okay. There's sometimes as well where we'll like blink when it's not necessary, like when nobody's shooting at us, we'll just kind of blink unnecessarily.
Oh no! My dash! I overextended.
There we did
my lord.
yeah, unfortunate, right? We went a little bit too far. On top of that, though, keep in mind we did have a recall, so we could have recalled out, right? So just keep that in mind, as we can use that as an escape option.
Yep.
Team up for special attack. Nanoboost administered.
Oh.
Yep, so they're aiming at the ground when we fire a helix again, and then besides that, just make sure we actually land, trying to land it.
Yeah. I turned down my soldier set, so it felt so weird.
0.
Understood.
Might switch to.
I'll enjoy the quiet while it lasts.
We'll see if I still go Reaper.
Okay.
Oh, this point, no, I don't really like Genji on this point. I like Trace.
Cheers, love. The cavalry's here.
Is it okay to have pretty high sense on Tracer?
Tracer, so characters in which you can have a little bit higher on, I'd probably say Tracer and Genji. Like, out of the 4 characters you play, Tracer and Genji are the ones that you can have a little bit of a higher sense on, though I still wouldn't recommend having, like, a super insanely high sense, right? And I operate just fine on Tracer, like, having a low sense, and there's a lot of other people that do, too, right?
Oh, no.
So
I'm so bad.
So there, instead of just coming down the main angle again, maybe we could come from like the left side, for example. That way, you know, we keep coming down the main frontal angle over and over and over again, and then you have to keep in mind that's where most of the damage is coming in, so we're going to die very, very easily if we're down there. And then also just watch for the edge, right? Recall once you know that you've taken damage. We're not utilizing recall at all, right? That will give you your health back, so you want to make sure that you're using it because it'll get you out of the dangerous situation as well as return your health, right? If we're dying with recall, there's a problem.
Okay.
Unless you want to be dying, right? There's some cases where that's going to happen. The wall's blocking it. Okay, where this fight's looking a bit lost, so we might want to just back out. Make sure when we're losing fights that we're not using pulse bombs, or at least when we don't have our team there. Like we were down our whole team and they were still walking back and we were still engaging. Besides that, as Tracer, when we can blink around the map very easily, it might be a good idea to go and take out their teleporter, which can stop them from respawning fast. Right, whereas we kind of let them keep it up there the whole time and they kept coming back over and over and over again.
Yep.
Onwards to victory.
風よ俺にはまだやることがある
Oh no. Oh, she got you.
Oh, very nice kill. Alright.
How many Genji shurikens does it take to take out the sim turret?
Should take like 2, I think. So I think it'd be like 2-ish. No, when you see Anna's very low like that, you can just dash through her because remember you get a dash reset off of that, right?
Yeah.
So you'll just get your dash right back, and then you can get out with that dash. So if you see someone who's low in a big group of people, just feel free to dash into it.
Alright.
Unless you're like 1 HP, right? That's the case where you might not want to. Alright.
Oh.
There we just
I'm
kind of...
positioning there.
Yep, exactly. Just make sure we're using cover. We kind of panic and didn't know where to go. We can dash away from it to get out of range. We can just go behind cover. Here we're coming back and we're looking for a blade. So what are we going to do for Anna?
My ultimate is none of
My ultimate is charged. Attack with me.
piece of cake. My ultimate is ready. Get in there and I will boost you. You're powered up. Get in there. Maybe I will.
I'm so confused. What's going on?
Yeah. I think we're getting like, and it happened again where we just got like extra jittery as soon as we went for ultimate. So just make sure you're trying to keep it calm when you're blading and trying not to panic so that you're not just not knowing what's happening around you, because we end up being so jittery that we can't even locate people, right? So make sure lowering sensitivity first off, and then also just making sure we're paying attention to how we're aiming, right? Blades don't have to be insanely flicky, they can be slow and methodical, right?
Yep. Got it. Oh, they got a point. Oh my god.
Alright. So I am streaming. We'll go over some stuff to wrap us up here, and then we'll move on to the other half of the stuff here. So let's talk on Genji's left click versus right click, and I'm trying to think, was there anything else I wanted to go over besides that? I can't recall at the moment.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah, so left click versus right click. So when to use both. So far we're using left click way too much, right? You have to keep in mind that on Genji, for some reason, even though right click is technically considered your secondary fire, right click's your primary. Realistically, right click is the one you want to be using whenever possible. as it has a faster output of damage. You're going to be shooting it faster than your left click, and you're getting the same amount of shurikens out, right? So right click is going to be better, though what really, and when you change it changes based off of distance. So when you get too far away to where you're only hitting one single shuriken, right, that's where you want to be left clicking so we can hit more than one shuriken, right? So when we are up here, we can hit all three no problem, you know, even on heads when we're up here. Once we get back to
All right.
here, we can hit. Also, don't get in the queue, by the way, just because.
Yeah.
So back here, we can still be into a body. We can still be hitting 2 or 3 of them, so we're good. But once we get back to around here, well, now we're only hitting one single shuriken, right, on these people. So now it's becoming an issue, and we're too far away to be hitting the right click. So this is where we swap to left click on a single target. Now, we can go even further away with right clicks if it's a tank, because they have bigger hitboxes. If it's a shield, then because, again, that's a pretty massive hitbox. Into a group of people, if we're not particularly trying to focus somebody, right, because somebody will take the damage. But if we're trying to focus somebody out individually in a group, then we might want to left click, right? And those are all situations in which we would left click versus right click, right? So you can go further and further away with right click if you have big clumps or big objects they're aiming at, whereas if you're, you know, at this range you're trying to hit one person, you might want to left click, right? So those are a bunch of different things on that. I think that is it. I might go over something else if I remember what it was, but for now we'll just do the we'll go over the main points of the session and then do a quick review, and then we'll move on to the next part of the session. So let's talk main points. So number one main point was going to be your mechanics, right? Making sure that we're aiming head level, making sure that we are, and keeping good crosshair placement, right? Making sure that we're not jittering around, especially when we're bleeding, where we would go from like just slightly jittery to like just all of a sudden go like, you know, not being able to see anything on our screen. So turn down sensitivities if needed, and then on top of that, just make sure we're intentionally paying attention to how we're aiming and trying to keep it smoother so that we don't end up just not being able to see a thing, right? Make sure we are, on top of that, keeping good target priority, right? Killing the things that need to be killed. Make sure we're focusing supports and DPS over tanks. But then on top of that, even within supports and DPS, you have to think, okay, well, what are the harder supports and DPS to kill? And you come up with this list in your head of target priorities, right? Like, who's going to be harder to kill, a Tracer or Widowmaker?
Tracer.
Yes, Tracer is going to be harder to kill, so you might want to focus the Widowmaker. Or who's going to be harder to kill? Maybe, let's say, a Genji versus an Ana.
And Ana is gonna be easier.
So, you know, you can come up with these target priority list in your head of, okay, I'm going to focus this person first and these people last. Yeah, a lot of times we weren't really doing that, and then we just ended up focusing whatever was right in front of us, and then we would just not be shooting at the best things, right? So pay attention to that, right? So that was number one. Number two is going to be our probably positioning. So with
wait, hold on. Is there a way I can see the enemy's health?
Yes, there is. Their health bar right there.
Oh, I didn't have that on.
I don't even know if that's an option. Have that off. Here, yeah, you can only that should be a default option to see that.
I can't see that. I can see on your game there's like a red bar.
Yeah.
I can't see that.
You can't see that in game?
No.
Do you mind screen sharing and then like just hopping into like training range real quick, and then if it doesn't show up, maybe hopping into like a custom game or something like that?
Oh, I see the issue. I have something with NVIDIA, like, you know, her their GeForce experience.
Yeah.
I had HUD off for like a few games.
Oh,
I didn't even notice.
Oh yeah, your whole HUD, like everything.
Yeah, everything. I had that off for quite a while.
Oh, interesting. So you had.
I don't know how I didn't even notice. I was quite.
Interesting.
What?
Yeah, I would definitely make sure you're noticing that, because it's a big issue if you can't see your health, if you can't see your ultimates, if you can't see your abilities. Right? There's a ton of stuff on your HUD that you need to pay attention to. So definitely have that enabled, right?
I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah, because you need to be able to see that stuff, right? You need to be able to see health bars so you can dash in after people, right? Like when somebody's low, we need to be able to see their health so we can dash in and finish them off, right? So all that stuff is really important to be able to see, right?
Alright, I got the problem.
Okay. So moving on, number 2 is going to be positioning. Make sure we're not standing on the open. Good positioning is the usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover. making sure we're taking high grounds, making sure that we are positioning at the appropriate distances. So on Genji, close range within 20 meters. On Hanzo and Soldier, 15 meters to 35 meters away from people. Preferably not closer, further. And then, what was the last? Tracer, close range as well. Probably the same thing as Genji, right? Within blink distance. Oh, the other thing we're going to go over was pulse bomb usage, right? So let's talk about that when we get to ultimates real quick. I'll farm it up. Right.
That's my favorite Tracer skin right there.
Yep, it's pretty good. So, that overall came in the number 2nd. Just make sure we're paying attention to those things. Number 3 was going to be your ability usage, making sure that we're using them properly. So with Tracer, we would do one of two things. Either we for the most part, this is most of the time we would neglect using our abilities. We died over and over and over again when we had blink and we had recall, and we just wouldn't use the abilities, right? So make sure you're actually utilizing them. We would also blink when it wasn't needed. Like we would just, somebody wouldn't even be looking at us. Like, they would be looking that direction, and then we would just blink randomly, right? When it wasn't needed. When blink is needed for movement or for dodging, dodging and damage, right? When there's no damage that's needed and no movement that's needed, you don't need to blink, right? On top of that, we'd also just randomly, we'd also blink and do things like this, where we just blink around, recall, and then we'd just be out of abilities and have nothing to work with. So just make sure we're trying to preserve them a little bit longer. And then those are all the main things with blink, right? Besides that, let's see, more abilities. Let's talk about the pulse bomb thing real quick, and then we'll swap just because I don't want to waste the ult charge here. But pulse bomb, how you land this effectively and very easily is every time we try to throw them, we're throwing them from way too far away. Like we're trying to Kobe them in from this distance. Whereas what you want to do with your pulse bomb is be right up here on top of somebody, because this is, in fact, very difficult to miss. How the heck are you going to miss this when you're right up on top of somebody, right? So what you want to do, what makes this very easy, is you can blink into somebody to this distance,
Then recall
and then
out,
pulse
right?
bomb. Yeah, and then pulse bomb, you can walk out, you can blink out, you can recall out, anything, right? So we want to blink in, pulse bomb, recall. We can also blink in, blink out, or we can blink in, walk backwards, right? Yeah, any of the 3 work, but that's what you call a blink pulse bomb. You can also do the same thing with a blink melee to finish off kills. So that would look something like this, where we shoot them down to 1 HP and then we melee them, right? That's more advanced. I wouldn't worry too much about that yet, but it's used to basically for when you're out of ammo, and it's very fast damage. But moving on, right? That was the pulse bomb usage. More ability usage, because that was number 3. Make sure we're landing our dashes, pay attention to health bars, make sure we're dashing people when they're low. A lot of times we want to make sure we're using it as a finisher, whereas we kind of just would dash at people randomly sometimes, right? Make sure we're not just dashing straight into the back line. And then that was pretty much it on Genji. Moving on Soldier, make sure we're hitting our helixes, helixing to finish people off, same as dash, and we're also aiming down at people's feet when we're going for it. And then that's pretty much it on Soldier. And then Hanzo, make sure we're using our Sonic Arrow more often, right? We're actually using it, not holding on to it. And Sonic Arrow before you Dragon. Number 4 is going to be your, let's see. Thinking. Probably say number 4 comes in at your ultimate usage, making sure that we are dragoning when we can actually see people and know where they're at, making sure that we're pulsing when we're close to people, not far away, making sure that on Genji, that we're not panicking when we're blading and we're keeping it calm and cool, but then also we're making sure we're not accidentally dashing at the wrong into nothing, right? And then also make sure we're not holding on to our ultimates, using them at the start of fights. And then finally, making sure that we are letting our Ana know when we're going for blade, right? Besides,
if you don't mind, I sent you one of I think that's my best blade I've ever done.
Yeah.
Just looking at it, I don't know. I think I did a little bit. I was jittery. I can watch over what I'm doing. Yeah, I was pretty jittery there. But.
Yeah. So you want me to watch right now? Is that what you're
yeah.
trying to get at? Okay. Sounds good. Works for me. I'm bringing it up though, not streaming it or anything. Okay, pretty nice. Yep, I mean, we definitely took that a little bit slower than we did the other ones. Though we did accidentally miss a slice on the Lucio at the start or something like that. But in any case, it's pretty solid.
Yep.
Continuing on with the finishing up stuff, right? That was it for ultimate usage. Finally, last one is awareness. Pay attention to your health bar. Make sure you're actually using your HUD. Pay attention to things on your HUD. Make sure you're paying attention to where our team is, where the enemy team is, and also audio awareness, right? Listening to the things around us, and then paying attention, right? And then that is pretty much it, man. You got we can let me friend you. And we can just get into a game here. Do you? Real quick, just do you have any questions about anything that we've talked about, or any other questions about anything else in the game? Though we
Nope.
can definitely go over those as we go along with the next hour or two.
Yep.
Okay, so then would you like this second half to be recorded, or do you care, or what?
I don't care. You can do
Okay.
anything you want.